Welcome to She Speaks, the Female Truth, where two women navigate the ups and downs of life with humor, heart, and a whole lot of honesty.
Hi, welcome back to She Speaks, the Female Truth, where we talk all things that would make your mother blush.
I think they'll make everybody blush, but
I think so too.
that's okay.
Before we get started today, I really want to thank our listeners already. We've heard so much feedback from so many of you already, full of so much support, and it's just been like heartwarming. I didn't think we'd make this big of a difference already, but like it's crazy.
I feel like it's made a difference for me personally, though, too.
Yeah.
You know, hearing my voice.
I mean, that's
Just
always
kidding.
a plus. That's always a
Just
plus.
kidding.
But I mean, too, like, you know, because when we started this, because we felt kind of alone when we went through some of life's challenges, and hearing back from some of these folks, men included.
Yes.
Like, let's not forget to, like, shout out to the men out there listening to us. But people kind of going through the same stuff, and it was like, wow, making me feel even less alone than I did at the, you know, so it's just such a great amount of support.
I would say what was really cute was my son listened, and he was like, with our episode 1 when we had to give a disclaimer.
Oh, yes.
You know, just to make sure people didn't think we were bashing any certain genders. My son was like, you know, Mom, thank you so much for giving that disclaimer. That meant a lot.
Oh, my God.
I know, right?
So sweet. Oh, I love it.
It's been great. It's been great. And, you know, at the same time, if you have anything you want to talk about, if you have something that you're going through, by all means, share it with us. Let us know.
Yeah.
And we're happy to talk about it. Or maybe you just need some advice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't forget to follow our social media, specifically Spotify. Rate us like the 5 stars that we obviously are. And then, you know, that helps us.
You're buying the ratings already.
I am. I mean, it really helps us out. It helps with the thing called algorithm. Am I saying that word right? Algorithm?
It's not an alligator rhythm.
Algorithm?
Closer.
It helps with things.
Oh my gosh. It helps with all things.
Yeah. But that's awesome. I love it. I just wanted to give a shout out to our loyal listeners already, and thank you for your support. It means a lot.
It does.
So today we are talking about infertility and loss.
Yes.
And both, unfortunately, we are no strangers to.
We are not. We are not to either one of them. So, you know, last episode we talked about PCOS and having that and all of the things that it affects. And unfortunately, one of the main factors that it affects is your ability to have children. And you don't really realize how significant it is until you're in the middle of it and going through it.
Yeah.
At least that's how I feel. Like, I think when somebody tells you when you're young and it's not on your mind and they say, well, there's a possibility that you might not be able to have kids, I feel like you don't fully think it through until you're trying to have kids.
Right.
Yeah. So just a little history on what we went through in our perspective. And again, everybody's journey is different. Everybody's story is different. So maybe this will resonate with you. Maybe it won't. But I know regardless of your story and the details behind it, the feelings are always still the same. And it's the feeling of emptiness and failure. And it's just that loss and that horrible feeling in your stomach and all of those things. So my husband and I, shortly after we got married, probably I would say about a year, we thought, okay, maybe we should think about starting to try to have kids. So I was 24, I believe, so he would have been 30. And we just thought, let's just talk about it. Let's just, you know, try to start having kids, because if it happens right away, you know, we're still young. And I just kept thinking, well, I think we should try sooner than later.
Yeah.
Because you just never know.
Right.
And prior to this, I didn't really see a good doctor about PCOS, and things weren't really talked about of how that would affect this aspect until we started trying to have kids. And I went off of the pill. I was on the pill for several years, and I went off of that. And I saw just a regular doctor, like every other woman sees.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even get a period. I think I spent the first whole entire year trying to have a period, and I couldn't. I was on medication after medication to try to induce it. Nothing was happening. And then when I would get it, it was so out of the norm. Like, it would just be, sometimes they would last 30 days straight.
Yeah.
Like, it was just horrendous. So trying to get that all in line was really difficult. And then, you know, it would be monitored. And then since it wasn't happening on its own, I had to be put on medication. And then I remember the first time we were on just a pill form of medication to try to help things out. And I would say probably after the first 2 years, maybe 2.5 years, we got pregnant. And within 8 weeks, we lost the baby. And that was really, really difficult. I think, not to sound cold, but I think they don't really prepare you for the first one. I mean, you never want to have multiples,
Right.
but you're just never really prepared for the first one because you have that immediate excitement right
Like
out
it
of
worked.
the gate. Yes.
Yeah.
You're like, this is it. We're having a baby.
Right.
And it was already like, it took 2 years longer than what you thought it would take. And so and then it's like your mind is always going of, now I'm behind track, I'm off track, I'm behind schedule. And then you get excited because you get a positive test and you go in and it's confirmed. And then it's almost as soon as it's confirmed, it's gone.
Yeah.
And I remember, and my poor neighbor that I had, bless her heart, like, she was so excited for us because during the time that we were trying, she had 2 kids during that whole time.
Oh, wow.
And she always felt terrible because she's like, I just think about getting pregnant and it just happens.
Yeah.
And that happens for some women. And then there's women that it just doesn't. And she was just so sweet. And she's like, even if you just want to sit on the couch together and not even talk, at least you're not by yourself. And, you know, it was a really nice,
That's really nice.
thought.
Yeah.
And you're just not prepared for it. And I think a lot of people forget about the male side of it because it's your body and your hormones and your emotions and your feelings. So it's really easy to get caught up in, this is what I'm going through, this is how I feel. But I tried to always stay aware of, my husband was also going through it. He also wanted the baby.
Yeah.
He also wanted all of these things to happen for our little family. And he was affected by the loss as well. So afterwards, we go back to the doctor, try it all over again. And it took probably, of going to a regular OBGYN, probably a good 3.5 years.
So the 2 years, and then you
And
had the miscarriage, and
so
then another year?
In that time of the 3.5 years, I ended up having 4 miscarriages
Oh my gosh.
during that time of just trying to get pregnant the first time and actually keep the baby. And it was just one devastation after another. And then by the time you get to loss number 3, you try to be hopeful, but you're just like, we'll see if it even happens.
Yeah.
Which is really hard because you want to be positive and you want to enjoy the excitement of it all. And I would say during all that time, it was such a terrible feeling. And I remember crying all the time, like all the time. So not only are you, women are hormonal anyways, right? That's just how we're built. So you have all these feelings and these hormones and everything racing. You're trying to accomplish something that you would think, okay, as a woman, I'm built for this,
Right.
and it's not working. And you're trying to stay positive, but you're also, in your mind, you just know what the inevitable is. And then your body is being put through so much. Every time you consume a medication, whether they say it's to help you or not, there's side effects that go along with all of it. And it is just exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting physically.
Right. And mentally.
Yeah, for what your body's going through. And you're right, mentally. And finally, after that long, about 3.5 years, we were told, well, maybe you should go see a specialist. Like an actual, we ended up going to a reproductive endocrinologist.
Dang, that's a big word. What is it? Hold on.
Reproductive endocrinologist.
What do they do? Is this like an infertility doctor?
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, basically. And
see, I'm a woman and I'm still learning. So.
When I went to the actual specialist, I will tell you, I never felt so much not like a woman than I did listening to him talk to me about how to get pregnant, because I'm just like, wait, what? Like, at this rate, I'm surprised there's any babies out there. Because the whole process for a woman to get pregnant is insane to begin with.
It is, which it's funny because in high school they teach you, like, you take a sex ed class, but they never talk about like infertility or like the process of getting pregnant and what your body does in order for this crazy miracle thing to happen.
And they don't tell you, okay, number one, women are born with the amount of eggs that they're going to have.
Men keep producing sperm like forever.
Men can have babies forever, apparently. They're just like, oh, I'm low on sperm. Let me just go ahead and add some more in there.
Yeah, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit.
Yeah, you're born with what you got.
Yeah.
And they don't always tell you every time that you ovulate, you don't always drop an egg. Mm-hmm. And you don't drop eggs out of both sides.
I always thought you did.
I'm like, there's two. How come they're just not working? Mm-hmm. No, you can drop from one side over and over and over. And your other side that has the other part of your eggs is like, we're on vacation. We're snoozing a little bit.
I'm retired.
Oh, my gosh. And then on top of that, your egg has to be the perfect conditions.
It does.
It's not just a matter of having an egg. Mm-hmm. It's also the pressure of being the right size. Are you a good egg or are you like, a slowpoke egg?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my God.
And the timing.
They don't tell you any of this.
No.
And here, they always say, well, it only takes one time to have a baby. Well, actually, it's a miracle that anybody even has children out there, because
it's actually very, very true.
All of the stats and the details all have to line up perfectly.
Everything's against you.
Oh my gosh, right out of the gate. So we go to him, and I randomly picked him off the internet.
You just looked up.
I wasn't given referrals, like nothing. I'm just like, okay, I'm supposed to see a reproductive endocrinologist.
All
right, we're going to Google this.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the list, and I'm like, this guy's name sounds great. Let's just go with it.
I like the name George.
Right? I'm
Sounds
just like
smart.
I was like, oh my gosh, his name was Donald.
Oh.
And I will tell you that was the best decision that we ever made, because he was for number one, when we saw him, now that was, oh man. So my oldest two are almost 15. So then it would have been, all that time prior.
Sure.
So at that time, he'd been practicing. He had been a specialist for like 30 years. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, great, maybe he knows something.
Well, you'd hope.
Here we go.
Yeah.
And the first thing he says to me in like the intake kind of, get to know you thing. Mm-hmm. And he's like, just so you know, for future, or if anybody asks you, if you've been trying for a year, you need to skip the line and go directly to the specialist. And the whole time I'm like, son of a biscuit. Like, I spent 3.5 years
trying to get that timing and
I just kept thinking, wasting my time, and nobody ever told me this.
I didn't know that. So 1 year.
Yeah, he's like, if you've been actively trying for a year, you just need to go.
Okay.
Like, because the reality is you don't know if each cycle's even going to work.
Sure.
And all that time is going to pass. And it's insane. So
And as you get older too, like your eggs, they get older too.
yeah, we're kind of doomed from the get-go.
Yeah. They're not like beautiful eggs anymore. They're kind of like,
Oh my gosh, they've
I
been
don't know,
like
it's the
sitting on
cream
a
of the crop.
shelf,
Yeah.
a little dusty. Like we're gonna just dust this one off.
so a year. Okay.
Yes. So we're like, okay, good to know. And he was very like straightforward, serious kind of, and just matter of fact. And I'm not going to sugarcoat anything.
I love
for
that
you.
though. That's what you needed.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, we have two options right out of the gate. Basically, you can start off with shots,
Okay.
or and the way he worded it was, it's like buying the the hood ornament of a Mercedes. And he was like, you can do that.
Yeah.
Or you can jump right in and buy the whole Mercedes.
Sure.
So those are your options. And of course, I'm like, well, insurance is going to cover the hood ornament.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with that.
Sure.
Yeah. That took, I felt like it took forever. And it was just so difficult because when they say shots, they don't mess around.
They don't. I was on them.
So they give you shots to basically, in layman's terms, blow up your ovaries.
Oh, I wasn't on that one.
So they gave me. So I had shots in my stomach to enlarge to make them overproduce, basically.
Okay.
So it's like bulking up, like you're pumping
heard
iron
that's
on
painful.
steroids. It's extremely painful.
Yeah.
So it's like blowing them up to be like softballs. So in each side to make your body.
No thanks.
Number one, you need them to be the right size.
Yeah.
You need the good conditions.
Yeah.
And number two, you don't know if you're going to get another chance. So we have to make them drop as many eggs as possible.
Sure.
So that's why a lot of women end up with multiples.
Yeah.
And it was really scary.
Sounds uncomfortable.
It's extremely uncomfortable. And it had to be monitored. I had to have an ultrasound every day
Oh, wow.
during that time frame.
Okay.
Because they have to, okay, are you even ready to drop some eggs? Because you could get a lot of fluid in your abdomen.
Oh, okay.
Leaking, like you could just have issues.
Okay.
So, yeah, he was really, really good and really sweet. And it did take a couple of times to start out. So I believe it took 3 rounds to start out.
Okay.
And we got pregnant once, and then we had another miscarriage. So that was miscarriage number 4. And I just kept thinking, oh my God, if the hood ornament doesn't work, like, it's
Yeah.
just insane.
Yeah.
And so many people, we were just kind of talking about this prior to starting the episode, but so many people give you the advice of, you're just stressed out, you need to relax, which doesn't make you relax.
Right.
Like, if
Yeah.
I knew how to calm and not like de-stress myself, I probably wouldn't be in this problem in the first place. Like, I wouldn't be having this issue. So then you're just like, okay, we need to be calm and relax and let it happen naturally. And then it doesn't ever happen naturally.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you just feel like you're constantly chasing your tail.
Sure.
It's maddening, maddening. So we start again. And I will tell you, let me back up just for 1 second. I will tell you, if you guys watched the last episode, I have PCOS to go along with this. So my chances are even worse than your average woman. And you don't have to have PCOS to suffer from infertility and loss at all. But when you have a hormonal imbalance, a hormonal type disease, it makes your possibilities even worse.
Yeah.
Like, it's even harder. But I remember when I first, when going to him, right away, he analyzed all the medications that previous doctors put me on. Like, I was put on metformin, I was put on all of these things. And he's like, listen, if it really worked, you would see a difference. You don't need to be on all this stuff. This is ridiculous.
So he knew right away.
So he took me off of all of that stuff.
Okay.
And he's like, so many people, he goes, number one, you got PCOS at a time that people didn't really talk about it. People didn't really learn about it. Like, it wasn't really, not saying it wasn't a thing, but they kind of chalked up all of those symptoms to other things.
I mean, you're saying that they're even doing research now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still doing research on it now, but it's like, okay, he's like, why are you taking extra stuff? He goes, does it make you feel better? No, I'm pooping myself constantly. Like, horrible side effects. And he's like, and your stats aren't changing. Like, your blood work isn't changing. Like, this is ridiculous. Get off of this. So I'm thankful that he kind of opened my eyes, because he was like, statistically, it only works in about half of women with PCOS.
Okay.
Like, you just happen to be the 50% that nothing works for it.
Sure.
So
now were you looking at, now you need to get the whole car?
we were going to try the hood ornament one more time. And he was so good. He was so good. And I remember going the rounds again, shots in the stomach, and then after you do rounds of the shots in the stomach and you get to a certain point, then you have to do shots in your hips. Because he's like, I think part of the problem too is not only can you not get pregnant without help, you can't hold a baby. So you can keep getting pregnant, but it's never going to go to term.
Sure.
Because you just don't have the abilities, because your hormone levels have to be a certain level anyways to sustain the pregnancy. Again, I didn't know this. I was in my mid-20s. Who walks around learning all of this stuff? So it's not like it's easy.
Oh, and here's a fun statistic to throw in there. Did you know the sex of the baby is dependent on the man?
Yes.
I never knew this.
You didn't?
No.
I only learned it because we kept trying to figure out, going to the doctors and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But why can't I have the say in that? I don't know.
Yeah. Crazy times. Okay.
So we going another round, and now we are at probably a little bit over 4 years into this. And I remember being in, bless my husband's soul, he's probably going to laugh at me for saying this, but he's like, I could totally be a reproductive endocrinologist at this point. Like, when you've seen so many doctors together, he's just like, I got this. And when I couldn't give myself shots in the hips. It just couldn't. So then we're in the doctor's office. He's going to get so mad at me for saying this story. But he's like, I totally got this. And the doctor's like, okay, let me show you what to do. And I'm up against the wall, butt cheeks hanging out, like already in a vulnerable position, because women go through so much. Not only being a woman, seeing a regular doctor, but when you have fertility issues, everybody and their mother is up in your business.
Oh, yeah. Modesty.
Constantly.
There's no more modesty.
No.
It's out the window.
Legs open for the world.
Yep.
Oh, I don't know you. You just walked in. All right.
Take a look. Here she
look.
is, my ladies.
It is so, like, everybody's there to help you, but it's so degrading.
It is.
And it's such a vulnerable position. So in the doctor's office, pants down, all this, and the doctor's like, okay, this is what you do. You take it, you line it up, and you push the needle in. He's like, okay, I got this. Yeah, totally. And he's like, okay, you line it up. And then he goes like this with a running start, and he jabs it, and he bends the needle on my bone. Yeah, and the doctor right away, he's like, oh, yeah, not like that. Let's not do it like that. I was like, oh my God. Like,
he was confident.
He's like, we're having it.
This is the baby
we're
here.
We're getting this done.
There it is.
We're getting this done.
Yeah.
One way or another, it's getting done. And yeah, it's super fun. So stomach, hips, like the whole thing. And that round worked. But didn't just, like, we wanted to really seal the deal. So again, listen, we're here to talk about truthful things, and this stuff happens. I was turkey basted at the same exact time.
Sure.
Like, they're just like, listen, we only have so many chances, and insurance only covered so many rounds anyways.
Oh, I didn't. Okay.
Yeah, because you're capped out at $1 amount. At least that was with what we had. So yeah, it was about 10 grand to go through the hood ornament.
Yeah.
And so we're like, we're doing it all. So we're doing all the things. We're doing it natural. We're getting turkey basted.
Yeah.
Like, we got to seal this deal.
Sure.
And It worked.
Did you go to like Target?
We just use our turkey baster at home. So if you come over for Thanksgiving, don't worry, I didn't use that one.
You framed it. Hanging in your kids' room.
This is where you guys came from. Yeah, every year we bring it out on their birthday. Nice celebration. So, it was monitored very closely because now I am considered almost geriatric in that world. So
What is the age for? I knew this, but I forget.
So I've had a geriatric pregnancy.
Okay.
So I was considered borderline geriatric. I was 32.
Okay.
When I got pregnant and had them.
So do they say what, 35?
Now it's 35. Yes.
Okay.
But I was like right on there. So it's already high risk because of everything you go through.
So high risk. So 35, you're high risk for loss.
Then they're like, you're 32. You're old.
Oh, no.
But you have men that are impregnating women at like 70.
Well, that's because they keep making them.
And I'm just like, seriously.
You know what is so hard for me is that women, not husband bashing, not man bashing.
Please see the disclaimer from the first episode.
Please see the disclaimer from like the first 3 episodes. But like, look at how much we as women go through just to have a baby and to carry on. Like, number one, we just want to be moms. Like, just want to be a mom. But then, like, for the guy, it could be carrying down their name. It could be, like, all these things. And they just, like, have the fun part. We're stabbing ourselves with needles, injecting ourselves with hormones, like, all these things. And the guys just kind of sit back. They go in a cup, and they're like, do what you need with it. Call me. Like, and we're just kind of like, I mean, okay, this is gross, but, like, during sex. Like, guys can just roll over and be done. We got to clean up a mess sometimes.
Yeah, and when you're trying to have a baby, it's not just sex. No, because now it's like, okay, now I have to lay here.
Yeah.
Legs up in the air. I have to spend X amount of minutes. I can't really move. Like,
it's so much work for a woman. It's so much work for women.
It takes all of the, I don't want to say fun out of it, but it's like, there's no privacy. There's no intimacy. There's no,
it is work.
It's kind of like a job.
Yeah,
but it's not. I'm not saying it was a job, but it's just like you're like, oh my God, this just has to just make it work. And so it took, and right away. So when they did an ultrasound to see right before they can see how many eggs.
Yeah, it's
and there was
amazing.
5 eggs in there, and I remember my husband's like, 5.
Now, do they take all 5 out?
Well, they didn't. So I didn't have them take anything out. They could see how many could possibly be fertilized.
Oh, okay. See, I did IVF, so it was different.
So, yeah, they're just like, well, you got 5. Now there's a possibility that you might have 5 babies.
Oh,
so you
my
go,
gosh.
Then now you're stressed because of that. So you go from, I want to have a baby, I can't have a baby, I keep losing babies, to holy buckets, I might have 5 babies.
Yeah.
And which, I mean, I would have welcomed it with open arms, but you go from such extremes that it's not even funny.
Yeah.
So, and out of those 5, only 2 eggs were good, viable eggs. Like, it's like, seriously, after all of that, only 2 of you were good.
The best 2.
Right. That's what they think.
I think so too.
So, yeah, so there was 2, and then my doctor was great. He monitored me up to 8 weeks.
Okay.
Constant ultrasounds again. But I was constantly having to take shots in my hips.
Okay.
To make sure that we were going to sustain these babies.
Okay.
And that sounds so technical, but it was at that point, and I was so fearful but happy and all these things, because the other part that is really, really difficult, that isn't, I feel like it's not really talked about. Like, these are all technical things. These are all, take this shot, do this thing, hold your legs up, get turkey basic. Like, these are all actions. These are all things.
Yeah.
but it does such a number on you mentally that like I said, I would cry constantly, constantly crying. And I just never understood, because I'm like, you go through the thing, like, right, I'm a good person. I'm trying to do it the right way. Like, I'm trying to, and I'm not saying there's a wrong. I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to, do these steps that I think I'm supposed to be doing. And it's not working. And then my mind races and is like, I keep losing these babies because, number one, maybe I did something bad in my younger days. Maybe God hates me. Maybe God's mad at me. Maybe this is to show me and teach me a lesson. I went through that. Like, do I feel like that now? No. And before you say it, I'm not saying I don't feel like that now because I have babies. I am just older and have seen, like, the process, and I've seen people around me, and I've come to terms with things, and I'm at a different place with my faith. So that's why I can see it different. And loss still hits you hard, regardless what stage you're at. But it was maddening, and I was so angry.
Yeah.
Like, I was angry and frustrated and bitter, and I resented God really bad. And I'm just like, seriously? You can perform so-called miracles. Why can't you just keep this baby alive?
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to be good, and I'm willing to take care of it, and I want all these things. Why can't you just help me out and keep it alive? Like, I just remember thinking that all the time. But yeah, so that last round, it worked, and it was actually a great pregnancy. I still worked 10-hour days at work. I did 4 10s, and I felt great.
Yeah.
I gained barely any weight for having twins. And then, bam, suddenly I went on extreme bed rest out of nowhere, because baby A was a wild one.
Do you know
wild.
who baby A and who baby
Yeah.
B was?
Yeah, because I still swear their personality inside is exactly how their personality is outside. Baby A is still wild.
Yeah.
And she was the reason I went on bed rest. I went in for a regular checkup, and women go through so much, nice little checkup, finger check.
Yeah.
And they're like, I can actually feel her head. Like, she can fall out while you're walking around.
Did you find out what you had? Did you find out what you were having?
Yeah. Yeah, because everything was so monitored.
Sure.
And I had ultrasounds constantly. And I'm like, at this point, there's no surprises.
Yeah.
But, and, even though they were 2 months premature, I felt so incredibly lucky, like, because we had other complications during the pregnancy. Like, baby A, her umbilical cord wasn't fully attached.
Okay.
And they said at any moment, and she was wild, moving, at any moment she herself could pull it out, and she would die, and you wouldn't even realize it.
Oh my gosh.
Like, there's nothing that you can do.
Yeah.
So you just have to hold on and, like, hope she doesn't get crazy. And and again, that's like a whole parenting issue, but I was so thankful, and through it, though, I met so many people that I never knew that had fertility issues, that had miscarriages. Because honestly, prior to this, when I started this whole thing at like age 23, or 24, sorry, age 24, I knew nobody that had issues. That's another thing that made me so angry. Everybody around me was getting knocked up all the time. Like, I'm just like, oh my God.
I always looked at it as, like, when you want to buy a certain car, and then all of a sudden you see that car on the road all the time. And I remember when I was told I couldn't have more kids, everybody and their mother was having kids. I think you're more aware.
Yeah. Or you're just angry.
Finding any excuse to be. It's true, though, because it just seems unfair.
Yeah. I felt like it was extremely unfair. And, the doctor, he was again, very upfront, very blunt. He's like, look, if you want more kids, you need to start immediately. As soon as you have these kids, you need to start again.
Yeah.
And at the time, we're like, you know what? These babies lived, and if 2 is all that we get, that's all that we get. I mean, that's way more than what we were being told we were going to have in the first place. And we didn't do it again. You know, I just, you know, it's just like, it's a lot on your body.
It's a roller coaster, yeah.
It is. And I was so afraid of having more miscarriages. Like, I just didn't want to keep feeling that, because I was just, it was so hard and depressing, and your anxiety levels, and you're just so sad.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so sad, and it's so hard to explain. And 8 years after the twins were born, I got pregnant, all on my own, even though I was told I was never going to. And I just, you know, as funny as I wasn't feeling good for the longest time. I'm like, I just don't feel good. I just don't feel good. And decided to take a test. I don't know why, because I was like, it's not going to come back positive. Like,
Yeah.
we've been doing the deed for 8 years, and
Right.
nothing's happened. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and I didn't go back on birth control after the kids, like nothing. And sure enough, that thing came back with a blaring neon sign, pregnant. And I felt almost guilty, because while I was happy, immediately I was like, oh my God, I'm going to lose another baby.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to lose another baby.
Yep.
And I feel like I can't do this. And so by then, I'm really old. I was 40 years old when I got, let's see. Yeah, yes, I was 40 because, no, sorry, 39, forgive me, because we found out on my husband's 45th birthday.
That's so
And I'm like, here's your gift. Look what I made you.
Yeah.
I made you a baby.
Surprise.
And I just was like, oh my God, this isn't going to work. And no, I mean, complete miracle baby.
Yeah.
She hung on for dear life, was 2 days overdue. Biggest baby that I had. And it really, I'm not saying I had an appreciation for everything because she lived. I had an appreciation for everything because of all of the years of going through everything, from the whole process, all of the loss, and then it actually happening. And you know, and then I would hear all these comments that people are like, oh, we hear all the time, people with PCOS, your body just kind of fixes itself and you just have a baby on your own. And I'm like, that's not how it actually works. Like, when you have PCOS, you have PCOS for life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just like, oh, you finally popped a baby out and now your body fixed itself. No, I'm still broken. Because sadly, just 3 years ago, I got pregnant again. And I'm 46. I was 43 when I got pregnant. And my youngest was at an age that, like, she knew what was happening.
Right.
And that was really, really hard. So, again, wasn't feeling good, came back positive. And the problem is I had hope because I just had a miracle baby.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, maybe this is going to be the same thing. It's going to work.
Yeah.
And we told the kids, because at that point we were already 8 weeks, and told all 3 kids. They were so excited, so excited.
Right.
I went in at 10 weeks for the typical routine ultrasound. And unfortunately, the baby wasn't alive. At some point, the baby passed. And there we go. We had to go through it all over again. And that, I would say, every single loss was really hard. That one was probably the hardest on me.
Because the kids.
Yeah. So it not only affected the kids, but then my body, it's like, you know, my body at 43 is not the same at 32 when I had the first ones.
Yeah.
And the loss was so much harder. You know, it was already, you know, it wasn't monitored as closely because it wasn't planned. And laying on the table to do the ultrasound, and then you see their face, and then them calling in the doctor, and then you have to go through a DNC, like all of the things, and it's just terrible. Like, I wouldn't wish loss on my worst enemy.
Yeah.
Because it's just so difficult. And I just, like, I took that really hard. So I immediately went on birth control after. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Sure.
I told my husband, I'm like, I literally can, like, I cannot physically and mentally go through this. So
Yeah.
we ended up having lost 5 babies in this process. I count the 2 as miracle babies too, because the reality is any baby born is a complete miracle.
Oh, yeah.
Complete miracle. And I was lucky enough to have 3 miracle babies in this whole process. And was it my dream? Nope. If I had my choice, I'd have like 6 to 8 babies. Not 68, 6 to 8, by the way. Let me clarify that.
I would have had 68. I would have.
And it's just like, when you're not dealt the right hand that you were really hoping to, you try to make it work, and you go through this horrible back and forth emotional roller coaster ride. And I really remember being so angry at God. And then, through this last loss, I would say that is one thing that I didn't revert back to that. So through the years and aging and processing it all, I don't want to say it made it easier, because it was the hardest one on us.
Yeah.
But it just gives you a different perspective. And my heart goes out to every single person that has dealt with loss, is currently dealing with loss, is dealing with infertility. And you're not alone. You're not alone at all. Like, the numbers are insane of who actually suffers infertility and suffers from loss. And I fully recognize that my husband felt all of that loss as well.
Right.
He might not have had to physically go through those motions, but he felt every single thing.
Right.
Because that was his baby as well that was lost. And it's hard. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. And I don't think enough people talk about that, about how it's hard on him too.
No, not at all. Not at all. And they try to be strong and not really talk about it for sure, but I know that he felt it.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just, our heart goes out to everybody that deals with it. And if you ever need anybody to talk to about it, we both have gone through it. Deb has a story as well. And I just don't like anybody to feel alone in the whole process.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're here for you. We've got it. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, you guys. If you are unfortunately a statistic as well, go easy on yourself.
Absolutely.
Give yourself some grace, and hopefully you're surrounded by people that have love and understanding for you as well.
Yeah. And like Kathy said, I'll be sharing my journey in the future episodes to come. I have had endometriosis, so experienced an ectopic pregnancy as well as a miscarriage. And then I was on the other side where I was a surrogate for twin boys. And so I'll be sharing those journeys in the future. So don't forget to follow us. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us. And don't forget that your voice matters.
Thank you.